A very good morning to you all students. This is your social class. Today we are going to start a new lesson from history. Okay, lesson number 1, Advent of the Europeans. And we'll be learning about the kinds of sources of modern India today. A small introduction about the lesson. For many foreign travelers, traders, missionaries and civil servants who came to India in the 18th and 19th centuries have left accounts of their experiences and their impressions of various parts of the country. To know all these events of modern period, we have abundant sources at the international, national and regional levels. Sources of modern India. So we'll see what are the sources of modern India we have, okay, in our modern India. The sources for the history of modern India helps us to know the political, socio-economic and cultural developments in the country. From the very beginning, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, the Danes and the English recorded their official transactions in India on state papers. Well-preserved records are very valuable to know about their relations in India. The archives at Lisbon, Goa, Pondicherry and Madras were literally storehouse of precious historical informations. Here we'll see kinds of sources. We can write history with the help of sources like written source and material source. So there are two kinds of sources in history we are going to see here as written source and material source. And first we are going to see what is written source. After the advent of the printing press, numerous books were published in different languages. So when the printing press was introduced, number of books were published in number of languages. Okay? Because of it, people began to acquire more knowledge easily in the fields like art, architecture, history and science. The Europeans came to know about the immense wealth of India from the accounts of Marco Polo and similar sources. The wealth of India attracted Europeans to this country. Anandarangam. So in the previous module we saw a picture, okay, he is Anandarangam. We are going to see about him now. Anandarangam, okay, he was called as a Dubaj. Okay, Dubaj is nothing but a translator. Okay, he was a translator in Pondicherry to assist French trading people in India. Okay, when the French people were in India for trading purpose, he was who? Anandarangam. Okay, he was as a Dubaj. Dubaj is nothing but translator. Okay, he was translating, assisting them in translating from Tamil to French. He recorded the events that took place in French India. So he was the person who recorded all the events which took place in French India. Okay, and his diaries contain the daily events from 1736 to 1760. These are the years between 1736 to 1760. The events, what else has happened, he has recorded in his diary. And this was the only written secular record available during that period. And this diaries reveal his profound capacity for political judgment and is a most valuable source of history. So these are the written sources. What are they? Written sources includes literature, travel accounts, diaries, autobiographies, pamphlets, government documents and manuscripts. Next one is archives. So what is archives? Archives is nothing but custodian of records, you can say, or you can see in the glossaries page number 8. Okay, So what they have given, archives, the place where historical documents and records are kept. They have given in the glossary like this. And here also the same meaning applies, comes in the first line. This is the place where historical documents are preserved. Okay, archives is a place where the historical documents are preserved. Okay, the National Archives of India, NAI, National Archives of India, is located where? In Delhi. The National Archives of India is located in Delhi. It is the chief storehouse of the records of the government of India. And this is the chief storehouse where Delhi, okay, National Archives of India is the chief storehouse, okay, for the government of India to store all the important historical documents. It has main sources of information for understanding past administrative machinery as well as a guide to the present and future generations related to all matters. So these historical documents which has been stored in the archives is very informative, and it acts as a source of information for giving good understanding about the past administrative machinery. What else has happened in the past tense, okay, at past administrative machinery, as well as it gives the guidance for whom? For present and future generations. As we all studying about the history now, right? It gives the good guidance to the present and future generations related to all the matters. And it contains authentic evidence for knowing the political, social, economic, cultural and scientific life and activities of the people of India. We can come to know who else have worked during that period, and we can know about the social condition during that period and economic conditions and about the cultural activities, okay, and scientific life, everything about our India, okay, by going through the archives, okay, all historical documents. It is one of the largest archives in Asia. Okay, fine. Next. So these are some of the pictures I have gathered for you about archives. Okay, archives. You can see many old papers or books has been stored in this shelf. Okay, and this is archives. In Tamil they say Avana Kapagam. Okay, archives. Next. George William Forrest can rightly be called as the father of National Archives of India. So George William Forrest, he is called as what? Father of National Archives of India. So he is George William Forrest. Next one, Tamil Nadu Archives. The Madras Record Office, presently known as Tamil Nadu Archives, TNA. Tamil Nadu Archives. The Madras Record Office is presently known as what? Tamil Nadu Archives, which is located where? In Chennai. It is one of the oldest and largest document repositories in southern India. Okay, in glossaries what they have given about repositories, okay, a person or thing regarded as a store of information. Fine. And next, most of the records in Tamil Nadu Archives are in English. Most of the records in Tamil Nadu Archives are in which language? English language. The collections include series of administrative records in Dutch, Danish, Persian and Marathi. Few documents are in French, Portuguese, Tamil and Urdu. And this is Tamil Nadu Archive. So Tamil Nadu Archives picture. Okay. So Tamil Nadu Archive has 1642 volumes. So how many volumes Tamil Nadu Archives have? 1642 volumes of Dutch records. It contains 1642 volumes of Dutch records which related to Cochin and Coromandel Coast. These records cover the period from 1657 to 1845. So these records cover from which year? 1657 to 1845. Next, Daunian records. So Daunian records is nothing but Dutch. So Dutch is called as Daunian, sorry, not Dutch, Danish. Danish is called as Daunian records. Okay, Daunian records cover the periods from 1777 to 1845. So Dodwell is a person's name. Okay, he prepared with great effort, and the first issue of the Calendar of Madras records was published in the year 1917. Okay, and he was highly interested in encouraging historical researchers. He opened a new chapter in the history of Tamil Nadu archives. So next one, now we saw about written materials, and now we are going to see about material sources. Okay, written sources we saw, and now we are seeing material sources. So this is the picture of Saint David Fort, which is located in Kadlur. Many paintings and statues are the main sources of modern Indian history. So painting and statues are the main sources of modern Indian history. So we are seeing what? Material sources, right? Okay, they give us a lot of information and the achievement of national leaders and historical personalities. We can come to know about the achievements of our national leaders and the historical personalities. So the historical buildings, like they have given few historical buildings. Okay, Saint Francis Church at Cochin, Saint Louis Fort at Pondicherry, Saint George Fort in Madras, Saint David Fort in Kadalur, India Gate, Parliament House, President House in New Delhi, etc. These are the different styles and techniques of Indian architecture. So these are the few pictures what I have gathered for you. Historical buildings. Saint Francis Church at Cochin. So this is the picture of Francis Church located in Cochin, and this is Saint Louis Fort, which is in Pondicherry. You would have seen in our park. Next, Saint George Fort in Madras, India Gate in Delhi, Parliament House and President House. So these are the few pictures I have gathered for you. And next, other objects and materials of religious, cultural and historical value are collected and preserved in museum. You would have gone to museum, isn't it? So in museum, many kinds of historical pictures and coins and statues you would have seen there. Fine. So these museums help to preserve and promote our cultural heritage. And the National Museum in Delhi is the largest museum in India. So this is the picture of National Museum, which is located in Delhi, and this is the largest museum in our country, and this was established in the year 1949. This was established in the year 1949. Okay, coins are a good source to know about administrative history. The first coinage in modern India under the crown was issued in the year 1864. Edward VII ascended after Queen Victoria, and the coins issued by him bore his model. So after Queen Victoria, Edward VII came, and the coin issued by him, he bore his model. His picture was bored in this model. The Reserve Bank of India was formally set up in the year 1935. So 1935 Reserve Bank of India was set up. You would have learned in economics, right? And was empowered to issue government Indian notes. The first paper currency issued by RBI in January 1938 was 5 rupees note bearing the portrait of King George VI. We'll see the pictures of these. So he is Edward VII and this is Queen Victoria. Next one, Reserve Bank of India's symbol, and he is King George 6, where we have seen earlier George William Forrest and King George VI, both are same. Okay, the name is differing here. Okay, both are same. In 1690, Fort Saint David was built by the British in Cuddalore. So we have seen a picture of Saint David Fort, which is in Cuddalore, right? So that was built by whom? British in the year 1690. Okay, that's all, children. Today we'll wind up to this, and the next class will start off Advent of the Europeans. Thank you, children. Stay safe.